And I wrote about this in one of the books I wrote. I think it was the first, that it just stuck with me. That, I have empathy for people who just don't get a fair start. And I watched Joe Burrow last night. And the Bengals and the Jags are not good teams. It's almost, you look at the stats this morning, first downs, third down efficiency, total plays, turnovers, possession. It's just it's two totally average teams. And the difference was Joe Burrow. He's really good. He's really good. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but boy, he's got some Joe Montana. He's just smooth and throws the ball it's so pretty and so accurate. He's got such control. He can audible. And I thought to myself, it's not a coincidence. Quarterbacks in my life are Joe Montana. He had Bill Walsh. And Tom Brady, he had Bill Belichick. The Bengals don't even have a general manager. Their 86-year-old owner, Mike Brown's one of the big meddlers in the league. They don't have a GM. They're cheap. They don't make any trades on draft day. He's going to have to absolutely overcome this franchise. And I watched it and I thought, oh, God, he's good. What traits he has. And it's almost perfect. He's got a good arm, but it's not too good like Favre, so he becomes reliant on it and isn't as coachable. He can move, but he's not too fast like Michael Vick, who would admit he didn't work hard in his game initially because he could always escape. He has just enough of an arm and just enough athletic ability. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. I thought he was going to be Tony Romo. He's better. He may be a lot better. But I sat there and I thought, we're all worried about Trevor Lawrence. They got a really rich owner who's going to spend a lot of money. I don't worry about Trevor Lawrence, whether it's Urban or somebody else. But I sat there and I watched Joe Burrow. He's already had one severe injury. Why? They couldn't protect him. And I sit there and I just think to myself, it is not a coincidence that the first GOAT was Montana with the best offensive coach ever. And the second GOAT to replace him, the better GOAT, was Brady with the best defensive coach. Those are the two best coaches ever. And you just watch Burrow and his temperament and his ball placement and his accuracy and his mobility. Man, maybe I'm just gushing over him because I have a DM relationship with him. But I'm telling you, man, that guy, he is so smooth. And I hope they hire eventually a GM. I hope Zach Taylor's good. He's clearly not Sean McVay dynamic, but he's not Freddie Kitchens overwhelmed. But I just sat there and thought, oh, please give this kid support. Please give him a shot. Here's Joe Burrow after.
Yeah, there was no panic in the locker room. We knew we didn't play great in the first half. It is what it is, but we had all the faith in the world that we were going to come out and play really well in the second half. And we've been a second half team. We're going to have to get that fixed. We're going to have to play better in the first half on offense. But I'm proud of the way we fought back.
Where you land in life and sports is about 75% of the equation. Bad parents, hard to overcome. Middle of nowhere, hard to overcome. Crazy parents, hard to overcome. No general manager, hard to overcome. All right, so Belichick Brady this weekend. In the Seth Wickersham book, and I've read all the books, the Ian O'Connor book was great. Jeff Benedict book was great in the Dynasty. There's one thing in the book that is getting overplayed totally and one thing that's getting underplayed totally. I'll get to the underplayed thing later. The one part of the book that's being overplayed, and Belichick touched on it briefly yesterday, is this idea that Brady tried to meet with Belichick to tell him he was leaving, and instead they just had a phone call. Who cares? If somebody's going to dump me, I should have the choice how I receive it. Text, Instagram, in person. You're dumping me anyway. What does it matter? First of all, it's quite possible on March 17th, that was the day Brady made the official decision that Bill Belichick wasn't in New England anyway. That's off season. Belichick scoots down to Florida every February and March, and a little bit maybe to golf in July. But it doesn't really matter. Tom Brady was leaving. If you read the book, he made a decision after his last contract with New England. In fact, Seth Wickersham was on FS1 this morning, and Brady really made the decision long before that potential in-person meeting with Belichick. Here's Seth Wickersham.
It definitely hovered over the team and Bill and Brady in August of 2019 when they were trying to negotiate a contract. And Brady considered leaving training camp in protest because he was so frustrated over how things were going. And anyone who thought that Tom Brady might remain a New England Patriot and retire a New England Patriot, had those hopes severely tampered on when he and Giselle announced that they were putting their house up for sale, I think 48 hours after that contract was announced. And he said publicly he knew right then that this was going to be his last year in New England.
What doesn't follow is another 30 years of marriage or a 7-year contract extension. Okay? You're getting dumped. And however you want to receive it, you can. And let's be honest about this. Name all the rock and roll bands that have lasted over 25 years. The Stones and U2. That's about it. Metallica did a documentary, and it's riveting, on how much they hated each other. Ever watch VH1 Behind the Music? Not a lot of harmony with rock bands. It's hard. I mean, good God, forget dynasties. Teams that aren't even good have friction. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers have had 5 years of friction. They're not good. The Brooklyn Nets, they're on the second year with all these stars. They've already got friction. Half the NFL's got friction, and they stink. Can you imagine being great and not having friction? They always say, thinking you're right instead of being right is part of the problem. Because when you start getting caught up in thinking you're always right, that's the opposite of growth. Like being vulnerable, being curious is how you keep being right. Once you start thinking you're always right, it ends being right, right? And so what happens is you make more money. Some of it's luck, some of it's serendipity, some of it's timing. But you start thinking you're brilliant because you're getting richer and you're winning a lot of games and people write articles and then you read them and we're all human beings, right? We all like the pat in the back. When you get them for 20 years, you start thinking, I'm right. You start wanting to be right. And that's the end of getting it right for most people. So let's not get too ethereal here, but this stuff's hard. And it's really hard when everybody's simultaneously becoming a legend and getting rich. Friction is just part of life, especially when you get great and stay great for a long time. All right, we got a great show today. Blazing 5 at the top of next hour. I do have some thoughts on Urban Meyer.